Happy birthday to legendary actor, filmmaker, and director Kevin Smith. Is X-Men 1991 back again with my top 10, top 15, top 5 video. The moment that you all been waiting for. This is my top 10 worst fighting games. Last time I did a top 10 of my best fighting games, and now this is my top 10 worst fighting games. Just give me a moment and then we're going to get started with this list. As Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, I'm going to try extremely hard to maintain my composure. And speaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin, number 10 is WWF Raw for the Xbox. I had no idea that they was going to make a WWF slash WWE Raw game. I mean, we already had the first 3 SmackDown games, the first 2 for the PlayStation and the third for the PlayStation 2. So then, months later, they decided to create a game for Raw. Since SmackDown already has 3 games, and they made WWF Raw for the Xbox. It's not a bad game, but it's not damn sure a good one either, because I feel like they pretty much rushed the shit. They could have took their time with this game. I mean, WWF Raw, playing it now is just not my cup of tea. Raw 2 to me is better than Raw 1. WrestleMania 18 for the GameCube is better than this. And you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance theme in WWF Raw on the Xbox is his same entrance theme that he used back when he was the leader of the Alliance. That was his entrance theme in WWF Raw. But it's not really the worst game on this list. The higher that I'm going to get on this list, the more aggressive or pissed off I'm going to get. So WWF Raw, not a bad game, but not a good game, but it was just not my cup of tea. I'd rather play Raw 2, which I will be reviewing this month, than to play Raw 1. And WWF Raw was the last wrestling game under the World Wrestling Federation name 4 months before the company changed its name to World Wrestling Entertainment. Number 9, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Oh, man. After watching Colbert Awesome's rant about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which he uploaded like a while back, 6 years ago, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is fucking trash, and I'm gonna tell you why. The character roster is horrendous. There's no X-Men characters. There's no Wolverine, there's no Storm, there's no Gambit, there's no Cyclops, no Juggernaut. There is none of those X-Men characters. I'm like, where's those X-Men characters at? If you go back and watch my top 10 best fighting games, I showed y'all a variety of characters they had in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 hands down is the best game in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Hell, even Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is better than Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I'd rather play Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Ultimate and the original than to play Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, because this game was just trash. And they really messed up Spider-Man and Iron Man. So yeah, they fucked up my boy Spider-Man. You know, when he does his Maximum Spider Hyper combo, he doesn't even say Maximum Spider. Back in the previous games, he says Maximum Spider and he says it like a cool cat. But in this game, he doesn't even say it. And I mean, the voice acting was just terrible. So do not even play this recent Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, because it is a waste of your time. I doubt they're gonna make another one after this. It's been 6 years since they made a last since they made a previous Marvel vs. Capcom game, which is this. This game is not worth your time. I would not play it if I were you. I'd rather play Marvel vs. Capcom, the first three, than to play this bullshit, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Waste of my time. Number 8, Street Fighter, the movie, the game. Oh. If the movie was bad, then the game is probably worse. The game is just god awful. It's worse than the actual movie. Don't play Street Fighter, the movie, the game. Is not worth it. If the movie was bad, then the game was probably worse. That's all I gotta say about that. Number 7, I know I own this game, and I'm sorry I had to put it on this list. It's not a bad game, but it's not a worse fighting game. Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. And I have it right here. I'm sorry I had to put this game on this list. It's not bad, but it's not good either. I don't have anything negative to say about Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. Only negative I have about this game is the clunky controls. And when they were making this, I'm like, what the hell? Mortal Kombat versus DC? Were they trying to rip off of Marvel versus Capcom or something? In case you don't remember this game, Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe was a crossover fighting game where you have Mortal Kombat characters versus characters from the DC comic universe. They have DC comic characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Joker, Green Lantern, the Flash, and they have Mortal Kombat characters like Sub-Zero, Scorpion. I believe Johnny Cage is in here too. Over 20 Mortal Kombat and DC Universe heroes and villains. Another issue I have with this game, there is no story mode either. No story mode. I don't know why they don't have a story mode in here. That's the only issue I have with this game, and the clunky controls. That's all I gotta say about Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. I still play this game, but not that much. Anyway, number 6, Sonic the Fighters. I don't know what the hell was they thinking making a Sonic fighting game. Unless you're playing Sonic in the Super Smash Bros. Series. But yeah, Sonic the Fighters was not my cup of tea as a child, and it's not my cup of tea now as an adult. I watched Let's Plays. I watched the Super Gaming Brothers play this game for one of their SmackDown Sunday videos. Yeah, Sonic the Fighters is not that good. I wouldn't dare play it at all. I'd rather play the Sonic 2D platforming games or the 3D platform games than play Sonic the Fighters. I never knew that they was going to make a fighting game about Sonic. Never. Anyway, now we get to the top 5. Celebrity Deathmatch. Not the TV show, the video game. I've already did a review on the Celebrity Deathmatch game early, so I don't need to go into more details about it. Bad graphics, bad controls. The good thing about this game is the voice actors reprising their roles, especially Mills Lane, rest in peace. Celebrity Deathmatch game was just god awful. I don't know what was they thinking on making this Celebrity Deathmatch game in the first place. I'd rather watch the TV show than to play the video game. That's all I gotta say about the Celebrity Deathmatch game. Number 4, Clay Fighter. Another bad fighting game from my childhood from the 90s. The graphics to me, which is ugly as hell. I'm glad they have not made a Clay Fighter game in the past 25 years. Next month will be 30 years since the franchise existed. And it's been 25 years since they last released a Clay Fighter game. Bad controls and bad graphics. If you grew up during the Super Genesis, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis era, I advise you not to play this Clay Fighter game. The game was just god awful. One of the worst fighting games I've ever played as a kid. Number 3, the Powerpuff Girls Chemical Extraction. I can't help myself but to laugh about how horrible this game is. As a Powerpuff Girls fan, I was very disappointed. Bad controls, bad graphics. The only good thing about this game was the voice actors reprising their roles. I would rather play as the Powerpuff Girls in Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL than play them in the Powerpuff Girls Chemical Extraction. I'd rather play as the Powerpuff Girls in Cartoon Network Racing than this shitty ass game. I know there's a lot of Powerpuff Girls games that they made and they were pretty much bad. Just about as bad as this. I was thinking about ordering this game on eBay like a few years ago, but after watching gameplays of it, I watched gameplays of this game back in 2010, and I was thinking about ordering it on eBay one day, and I'm like, nah, I am not gonna waste my money buying a game that was horrible. Let alone, I would advise you not to play this game, especially if you're a Powerpuff Girls fan. If you want to play as the Powerpuff Girls in the fighting game, you should play them in Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL. Even Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion XL had better controls and decent graphics than the Powerpuff Girls Chemical Extraction. Awful. I think you all know what number 2 is. I definitely had to put this in my top 2. This is also one of the worst fighting games I've ever played as a kid in the 90s. Shaq Fu. You all know about Shaq Fu. We all know this game is awful. What makes Shaquille O'Neal think that he could make a good fighting game? I mean, his acting was mediocre at best. I always thought Kazam was like corny and cheesy as hell back then. But watching the movie now, it was alright. It was decent. Shaq's acting was mediocre at best. The movie still was worse than Kazam. His music, I know a lot of people said that Shaq's music, he sucked as a rapper back then, but if they listen to his music now, they're going to realize that he raps better than these garbage ass rappers of today. But this game, oh my goodness. I remember playing this game in one of my childhood friends' house, and it was just bad. Shaq Fu, what the hell were they doing with that title? That title sounds so damn stupid. They replaced the word Kung and replaced it with Shaq and called it Shaq Fu. More like shit Fu, because this game is a piece of shit. Even playing it now, it's still a piece of shit. And then years later, Shaq made a sequel to this game called Shaq Fu: A Legend is Reborn. Like, come on, Shaq, we've seen enough of you making fighting games. And I love Shaq. I'm a fan of Shaq, but I'm not a fan of Shaq Fu. I'd rather listen to his music than to play Shaq Fu. I'd rather do a review on his cream sodas than to play Shaq Fu. I'd rather watch Kazam than to play Shaq Fu. I'd rather watch the old days of Shaq in his NBA career than to play Shaq Fu. And if you have the game, do me a favor and please destroy the cartridge. Burn it up, beat it up with a baseball bat, do what you got to do to get this game out of your life. As a Shaq fan, I was very disappointed. This game is just not worth your time. Now, number one, you all know what it is. I'm going to pull it out for you right now. You all guess what number one is. The Simpsons fucking wrestling. You all knew The Simpsons wrestling was going to be number one on this list. I've already did a review on this in 2016. I don't need to go into more details about how bad this game is. When I got this game back in Christmas of 2001, I thought it was going to be a good Simpsons game. I mean, we had a lot of Simpsons games here and there, and some of them were good, some of them were decent, and some of them were just bad. And this right here is one of the bad Simpsons games. I mean, The Simpsons wrestling is bad. The worst Simpsons game is The Simpsons skateboarding. It's worse than The Simpsons wrestling. The Simpsons wrestling is a worse fighting game than Shaq Fu. So where do I start talking about how bad The Simpsons wrestling is? Starting with the graphics. For 2001, it is hard to look at, and the graphics are pretty ugly. Even playing this game now, the graphics are still ugly. The controls are just whack. You only have 3 controls. You have a normal attack, a medium attack, and a fierce attack. I mean, the object of this game is to get your opponent's health down and pin him down, and that's it. This game is just mindless button mashing. This is not a good fighting game. It's not a good wrestling game. It's not a good game in any capacity. I can't even imagine a hardcore Simpsons fan would like this. And how do I know that? I'm a hardcore fan of the 90s Simpsons, and there's nothing about this game that really interests me. It's actually kind of insulting that they would make a fighting game based on one of the most beloved, longest running cartoons of all time. Fuck The Simpsons wrestling. It's trash. It was trash then and it's trash now. What do I rate this game? From childhood to now, this game will always get a thumbs down from me because it's just not cool, bro. Simpsons wrestling sucks. As Comic Book Guy would say, worst fighting game ever. And that wraps up my video of my top 10 worst fighting games. I'm going to end this video on a positive note before I end this video. For my next top 5, top 10, top 15, or top 20, I'm going to do a top 15 of my favorite Cartoon Network cartoons. And I'm going to do a top 15 or a top 10 of my best Nickelodeon Nicktoons from the 90s. So that's going to be my next top 5, top 10, top 15, or top 20 video. I'm currently working on my top 15 Cartoon Network cartoons. That's what I'm currently working on, and that is going to be my next video the next time I do a top 5, 10, 15, or 20. Let me know what you think about my list of my top 10 worst fighting games. If you're new here, hit subscribe and hit that notification bell for my next top 5, 10, 15, or 20 video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave your comment down below. If I have time, I will be back a little bit to reminisce 22 years of Stone Cold Steve Austin eating Deborah's cookies from the August 2nd, 2001 edition of SmackDown. Until then, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. No more talk.